Hi everyone, this is postcard 152 of the Podcast Anime. We haven't been here in a while. Today, me and Pooper as summoned in order to give our wisdom about the anime summer 2022. We're gonna go through a few good shows of that season, namely the second season of Make in the Beast, Lycoris Recoil, and Yofukashi no Uta or Call of the Night.
A few good shows from this season, huh?
Yeah, I at least for me, I enjoy watching these three shows.
All right. Good. That's good.
And we have a few more actually, like Ruby, the anime, Lucifer, and the Biscuit Hammer in the season as well. So this is like a pack full of like exciting anime
Exciting.
of the season. Yes,
Man, let's just get this over with.
I love your reaction there.
Yeah, 3 shows.
Uh, do you want to get into like Back in the Beast?
Sure. It's up to you. You did the intro, so you ought to be able to pick which one we start with.
Right. Yep. Let's go with Back in the Beast.
Yeah.
So this time, Rico and the gang get into the 6 layers of the abyss.
Yes, they did. It's the Golden City of the Scorching Sun. That's the
Yep.
subtitle, and I guess there was some dialogue in the last episode about them not having found the Golden City, right? Like when Wazukyan is dying at the kind of at
Yep.
the bottom of Iruburu, he's talking
Uh-huh.
about the fact that he wasn't able to make it to the Golden City, but he hopes that
Yeah.
Riko and her friends will be able to get there. And then he dies, and she's like, I don't know if it's Riko who thinks to herself or a different character who thinks to themselves, how far ahead has he really seen? Because he's supposed to be some sort of prophet or sage. So nothing that we saw was actually the Golden City, as corresponds to the subtitle of this season.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine that when the series comes back in whatever form that will be, whether it's a third season on TV, whether it's another movie, whatever, it's not as though they'll just be like, okay, we're done with the 6th layer, time to go down to the 7th. Because they haven't seen everything that the 6th layer has to offer. This season really just felt like a very small slice. Because it was very contained, almost all of it happens inside Iruburu.
Yep.
So there's got to be more coming after this, but who knows how long it'll take to get animated.
Yeah. That's right. Yep. Poof. Yeah. This is this very self-contained. Like quest of them, with like a whole new cast and a whole new settings, and even like the law of ascending sickness. I don't know what the curse.
Yeah, the curse. And that's
There's-
the curse is really not a factor for so long because it doesn't
Mhm.
the curse isn't present inside Iruburu, this village. This when they first got to this place,
Yeah.
and of course later we learn its true nature. But when they first arrived there, we don't understand what that is. And I wasn't sure what to call it. I wasn't sure whether to call it like a village or a settlement or just a bunch of people hanging out inside of a giant tree trunk looking thing. I had no idea how to refer to it in my notes.
Yep.
So now I just call it Iruburu. But yeah, the curse isn't present there because of the protection of Irumui, I guess is how you say her name. Irumui. And that makes the show very different for what's come before because the curse was an ever-present threat in the past, and now the threats are much more personal, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Bondrewd was a pretty damn personal threat, although he was so unbelievably sick and evil that it kind of felt a little bit impersonal. The threat that he posed, and Wazukyan is kind of like that. In this season, he's a little bit of a Bondrewd type character because he will like just do whatever in order to achieve his ends. He wants his people to survive, so he feeds those eggs. What are they called?
Yep.
The cradles of desire to Idomui,
Alright.
and like in doing that and trying to secure a future for his people that way by like torturing and I don't even know if there's a verb that is adequate to describe what he does to her.
Yeah, it's not torturing though. It's like exploit. It purely is exploit for me.
Yeah, he is exploiting her for sure. But I mean, even that doesn't go far
But
enough, right? Like
but yeah, but the thing is, like they kind of like worship her as well, as they
yeah,
goddess.
yeah, and their
So
mother, kind of.
yeah, that's right. The queen.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she is. The queen. That's a good one because her daughter Faputa is the princess.
Yep.
And interestingly, Regu is the prince,
Hmm.
which is a little bit strange.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
I don't get the whole Drago thing in here.
Well, we learned that he, he comes from the abyss. Like when you first start watching the first season, he emerges from the abyss, or he's recovered from it, or I can't remember how exactly he gets into the action in
Yep.
Orth, the city on the surface, but we knew that he came from the abyss, and here we see a flashback,
Yep.
Faputa's flashback to her first meeting with Regu, whatever, and so now we know a little bit about what his life was like, or just I guess that he existed beforehand, and
Yep.
so I guess he would have gotten the name Prince by association with Faputa, because maybe some of the villagers saw the two of them together through that little kind of liquid looking barrier thing where they can look out of Iruburu and see off into the distance a little bit, like there's that little winding path. I don't know. So maybe just rumors of his existence or his closeness to Faputa spread, and so he got the name Prince. At the very least, Wazukyan was aware of him, because when Wazukyan, in his new form, that like he's wearing like a green robe-looking thing, and he has that kind of half white, half red face with a pattern on it. When he first sees Reg, Vueko looks at Wazukyan and says, "I've never seen him look so afraid." And of course, we can't tell like what fear looks like on this guy's face. But Vueko, having been part of the Ganja beforehand, and being part of the group of people that Wazukyan was leading, she would know, I guess. And Wazukyan fears Reg, so he knows something about him, So it's entirely possible that other residents of Iruburu have heard about him as well.
Yeah, the thing is,
Go ahead.
we see all this flashback through Faputas, and it purely, like it's Faputa and Regu, and because Faputa cannot enter the Iruburu or the village, so we have like a missing piece here.
Right. Yeah, missing piece. There seemed to be something missing from this season, I felt.
All right, I gotta tell you upfront that like the whole I don't get many things are happening in this season, like the whole value thing, like the village cheating based on the whole value. They gotta lose the value, they gotta gain the values based on their values. That whole thing, I just don't get it.
Right. It is a little difficult to put it into words, I guess, that whole concept. And I think that maybe the subtitles didn't do the best, like they didn't choose the best terms in order to get
Right.
across whatever Japanese concepts are being expressed. And it could be that it's not a particular concept that's culturally exclusive to Japan or to East Asia or to anything like that, Even if it's just a general concept, I feel like the translation was not always up to snuff, and that value and worth and the accumulation of things, which is something Belaf says to Nanachi, the accumulation of things is how you like determine your own worth. Just phrases like that don't seem to communicate everything that perhaps the author of the Made in Abyss manga wanted to get across. I wonder what the scanlations for the manga are like. They may use different terminology, and it may be a little bit clearer, in addition to being clearer because it's laid out panel by panel, instead of being an adaptation. So I'm not curious enough to go looking, but it is, it's kind of a question that was bouncing around in my head. Like, what other way could this be expressed that might be a little bit more clear, a little bit more like engaging? So I think my viewing experience with season 2 suffered a little bit because of that.
Yeah, it suffered a lot for me. Like the whole system thing, and I just don't feel that engaged to the story because I just I cannot really see myself understanding how the way the village work.
Right. Well, I mean,
And,
the thing that makes it work is Irumiui's will, right?
Yep.
Because the village is her, and her consciousness still exists, I think, within this place. And her concept of what things are worth and what things are fair and what's unfair is what drives all those little black tendrils, those little sneaking kind of squishy-looking shadow things.
Yep.
Because those are all her children.
Yep.
So it's like her children are doing her bidding, based on her will, like her consciousness or even her unconsciousness about everything that's happening inside of her.
Yep.
So we can put it in terms like that, and it's like it's clear in a broad sense what's happening.
Yep.
But like the exchanges between the villagers and stuff, they're not really like the focus of this season. It's obviously building up to the reveal about how Iruburu came to exist, and then what the main character's role in its future is going to be, and its eventual destruction. So it's not like we get a lot of time to ponder or think about those concepts, I guess. Like they don't seem to be first on the show's mind.
Yes, I agree. And to say that, and I also found that the inclusion of many characters is, I can understand why. I just feel that it's a bit too functional. It's a bit like for example, in the inclusion of Regu as like the Faputa previous friend who now Regu doesn't have any clear memories about. I just feel like it's his involvement in there is a bit just to jump back. This is like the whole thing that already like packed full of new information, and now we have like a new relationship that the main character doesn't even aware it exists.
Right. I mean, I don't see that as a major problem. I think we have to get to the bottom of Regu's identity somehow.
Identity. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
we, we can speculate, and I don't know how much the show has gotten into this, but I think most people's theory is probably that Rico's mother built him, and that the mission that he was on, because he mentions to Faputa that he's on his way to the surface because he has a mission that he has to fulfill. So the mission is probably to retrieve Rico and to bring her down to her mother.
That's right.
And this season hints at that a little bit more clearly than it has in the past, and that's valuable because we have to learn who and what Regu is. The fact that he encountered Faputa on his way up to the surface and they bonded, I mean, maybe that would the season would have benefited from not like keeping that contained to 1 or 2 episodes, but I don't know how it could have done it any differently. Thinking about it,
Yep.
because if you make it more reg focused, then like what is Nanachi doing?
Mhm.
What is Rico doing? And I asked myself that question multiple times during this season. Like, what is Rico even doing? Her main role in this season is just to blow the whistle.
Yep. And she actually like provide the attitude, like her viewpoint to that, and she like like a let's just call that a wind of change. So like their appearance, her appearance is like the end of this village. So yeah, I see. I kind of see what you mean though.
I mean,
She's
from the
not really
beginning, she's
doing.
been the explorer with like the can-do attitude,
Mm,
and it's not as though that changes in this season. But I just felt like now that she
yep.
has, now that her whistle has been upgraded, because
Mm,
Faputa steals it and takes it to Iruburu where the craftsman works on it.
yep.
Now, because Faputa can like, there's so many of these little weird supernatural details. Like Faputa can
Hmm.
see or hear Prushka from within the whistle, which is why she steals it,
Hmm.
because she wants her to be like set free or be able to express herself better. In any
Hmm.
case, all that happens, and then so Rico now has the Prushka whistle, and that is like that's such a game changer that it takes over her function a little bit in the second half of the season. There is an episode 6, I think, which is the one where
Hmm.
Rico comes up with different strategies in order to like defeat the monster that invades Iruburu,
Yep.
because they have that practice of like luring monsters close to the place because no one can leave, and
Hmm.
then killing them for their, I don't know, their meat or their bones or their skin or whatever. And she helps to like kill a particularly uh, like dangerous monster that they've lured close to the village. So that was, it's cool to see her being part of the action there. But after that, I was like, eh,
Hmm. She tried to learn the new language though.
that's true.
So I.
Yeah, she does. I think she seems to be more involved in the first half of the season. That was the
Hmm.
early episodes. That was when she learned that new language with the help of what's her face, Mugi, right, the
Movie.
bartender.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of characters'
How.
names to keep track of.
Yeah, I actually had to write down the whole note, just like the whole names of these
You
characters.
have like a cast list in your
Yeah,
notes.
that's right. And yeah, how do you think about the decision to mix between this current journey with the flashback from Vuelo before before the kid find her out?
Right. I mean, I remember we were talking about that 3 months ago when the season started,
Yep.
and I was talking about the fact that like I wasn't big on the episode
Mm-hmm.
because of the way it was laid out, but I saw the potential for it to like parallel these two stories for a long time before eventually
Mm-hmm.
bringing them together, and it
Yep.
kind of did that for a while, but then once it
Mm-hmm.
got to I don't know, it was as soon as episode 4 probably when it drops all pretense of like keeping the suspense going about like what the ultimate fate of the ganja is, and you realize those were flashbacks,
Yep.
because you meet the three elders or whatever their names are, Wazukyan,
Mm-hmm.
um, Belaf, and not Vuedo, but the rapist from episode 1
Yeah.
is one of the
Yeah.
elders. I forget his name. It starts with a J, and I wrote it down somewhere here, but I have literally pages of notes in front of me, and I don't want to
Yep.
scroll through them. Yeah, so once you meet those guys, you realize, oh, okay, so those were flashbacks that we saw, and I mean, I like the concept, um,
Mm-hmm.
to put the two of them side by side and leave the audience in suspense, or just rather leave them in the dark about the fact that one is happening like centuries after the other. I I want to give the show points for that, but at the same time, like I don't think it stretched it out for long enough, or the eventual reveal was a little bit underwhelming because, I mean, Riko just meets Wazukyan at the same restaurant or bar where she learns the language. He's just chilling there.
Yep.
Not a really big moment for her to meet one of these three guys, and for the realization to like smack you in the face. It kind of just like taps you on the cheek instead. Oh, so everything I was
Yep.
seeing before was ages ago. Okay, well that's kind of cool, I guess. And on with the story.
Yep. Well, yeah, a few things because like watching the whole season, I just feel that like this is like this is weird in this part. This is like yeah, doesn't really make sense. But like now looking back, in retrospective, in I actually feel that a lot of their decision, like uh, we cannot see a way to improve that. It
Yeah,
just yeah. So I think it's they try the best they can to like make this story really work out the best and yeah.
I
So
mean they did okay.
yeah, they did. Oh, yep. Well, like we have a lot of flashback. So not only the flashback of how this Iruburu village come to be, the flashback of Faputas, and especially in her regard with in her memory with Grey Goose,
Right. Then there's
and
also Vuero's flashbacks, and
yep,
there's
and
Nanachi gets
Bilaf.
Belan's memories.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So yeah, there's a lot of thing going on, and yeah, I guess I'm fine with that. The thing that I'm a bit iffy about as well, and I'm thinking like a lot of viewer come to me as well. It's like how they view about the violence at the center. Like what we assess is that Wazukian is like real been using Irumu, like it been exploiting her, but like Rico doesn't really think him as like the bad guys.
Right.
She understand it,
Yeah,
and
kind of. And
she
I think Rico has always had that sort of attitude. Like she is obsessed with the just the very essence of adventure, to the point that
mhm,
any adventurer, anyone who has like a desire for adventure in their heart is like her buddy, and she like understands them on a spiritual level. I don't really remember her expressing a lot of disapproval towards Bondrewd either. She was just
right.
kind of like, he's an obstacle in, we want to get to the sixth layer, and he's preventing that.
Mhm.
I seem to remember that it was Reg and Nanachi who were like way more. They carried a lot more of
Scared.
the emotion
Yeah.
in that third movie, and in the last couple episodes of the TV show.
Yep.
Yeah, but it did. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because it did strike me as pretty odd that in the wake of all these reveals about Wazukyan being like a terrible, manipulative person, he did it to save his people, but at the same time, it's clear that he was like totally psychotic because of his attitude about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Rico hears all of that from Vuedo, as do several other characters, and even your water bottle was probably listening as well. And then in the next episode, like Wazukyan they just have this big powwow. They're like Rico,
Yeah.
all the main characters, all the people who listen to Vuedo's story, Vuero herself, and Wazukyan. They all just talk. And it's weird.
Yeah.
They're all just chummy. Like, it's the conversation before the third elder, the Vuero's rapist, shows up towards the end of episode 9. And like Reg, in addition, during that scene, Reg is holding Faputa's arm, like, which she's torn off of her own body, and somehow him having that arm is supposed to like help to bring down Iruburu from the inside or somehow facilitate Faputa's revenge. And he's...
No, no.
What?
Yeah, well, I do think that the fact that he bring her arms in there, roll up uh, the black thing, the the whole system thing, so that and I think the main purpose of that is for Regu to shoot the thing in his hands,
The
so
incinerator.
that so that Fabuta can commit now.
Right. But I mean, yeah, that was her goal. And that's
Yep.
what he had sworn to help her do, like in the past before he lost his memory. But I'm just talking about the fact that when they're all having this conversation, Riko's like, "Oh, don't worry, Wazukyan, you're a horrible monster, but we can still be buds. You know, we can still just have a civil conversation here." Reg is holding Faputa's arm, and it just seems strange that they can all have that conversation when he's holding this priceless object of infinite value, which threatens to destabilize their entire way of life.
Yep.
It's weird.
Yep.
There are many weird moments in this season just because of the way that Iruburu functions and the multitude of stories from all different eras that are being relayed to
All
us.
right. You know what else? What else is weird? The fact that Wakuchan. I think Wakuchan was the one who put Velo away, like lock her away.
Yeah, he was the one who imprisoned her down there.
And then when they first met, there was no resentment from Velo at all towards Wakuchan, and they just getting really buddy towards like the end. And even the weirdest thing is like Fabuta with her revenge, she doesn't really seeking Wakuchan at all.
Yeah, that's
although he was a ringleader.
yeah. If she was going to take revenge on anyone, I mean, from her point of view, and perhaps from Iromui's point of view, her mother, who's been hosting all these people inside of her, and they've been like taking advantage of her life force this whole time. From her point of view, everyone is guilty. But you would think that Wazukyan, being the person who implanted these cradles of desire inside Iromui and burdened her with this terrible fate, that Faputa would seek him out specifically and just like murder him a million times in a row. But, it occurs to me now, just talking about this, it's possible that Iromui doesn't resent Wazukyan for what he did. She's angry in general, and that's like the reason for Faputa's birth, is so that, I mean, at least that's the way that Faputa frames it. And that's the way Vuero thinks of it as well. Like the reason for Faputa's existence is as an agent of revenge and like a conduit for Itomui's anger about her, what happens to her. But it's possible that she doesn't resent Wazukyan for what he did. At least not the way we would expect her to. Because he does give her the ability to like make her wishes come true. And obviously it's a horrible... To us watching this on TV, it's just unspeakable. The way that she ends up and the way that her children are ripped away from her. But I don't know. It's possible that she, like, Itomui doesn't hate him. She just has a bunch of rage and sadness in general, and it's not directed in any one particular place or towards any one individual. I mean, the show does let Wazukyan off pretty easily. Like, his death scene is kind of generous.
Peaceful?
Almost. It's very lenient. He just turns into dust, and he's like the wise old sage character, and everyone's speculating, how much does he really know as he turns to dust? I don't know. I mean, I certainly hate him, but it's possible that Itomui didn't have the same hatred.
I think the moral ambiguity is always part of like Make in the Beast, like central themes. So I think at the end of the day, I think I'm kind of glad that like it still provide a story that like have like a moral a story at heart that like we are really conflicted about,
Yeah,
because
conflicted. That's for sure.
yeah, because there like multiple way to look at it,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to Wazu-chan, or I think everyone will be the same in regard to the fate of Irumyu. And but yeah, like someone like, or even with Pilaf, I want to talk more about Pilaf because like he's cute. Like out of all the members, he's the one who like who feel the most guilty
Right.
out of like eating all these
Babies.
babies.
Eating
Yeah.
babies. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
he's driven mad
Yep.
by guilt, and he like wants Idomui to take his life in exchange for him taking the lives of so many of her children, or like being complicit in it. Yeah. So
And
it's interesting the form he takes
yep.
as a dragon. It kind of resembles his wild white hair from when he was still human. But his hollow form is it's interesting. He's such an elegant animal, or he takes on such an elegant shape as a hollow, because like his death was anything but elegant. Or perhaps that's the reason why he had such a beautiful form, is he was granted that form by Idomui, who perhaps appreciated the fact that he felt that guilt. She sensed that he she sensed his emotion, like his regret over what he had done, and so his reward, in some sense, was like majesty and power.
Yep. Yep. And yep. Oh man. Actually, what is Wazu-chan wish? Because he have like his wish in there as well, right?
What do you mean?
Yeah, they from what I understand, they have like the cradle of wish. Is that that thing called?
Yeah, the cradle of desire, and then there's another name that's like the egg of wishes or something like that.
Yeah,
But
and
he doesn't have any wishes. It's Idomui who has the wishes.
All right, and she have two, right?
Well,
so
that's what
one
we
of them
thought.
She wish,
but at the very end, there's a reference to her having 3 eggs inside of her, which I didn't understand. Because she has the 2 wishes that we know of. One is to have children, and the other one is, I don't know, for the survival of the ganja, I guess.
right?
Oh, no. The second one is Faputa.
Right.
Faputa is like the result of her second egg.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought there was like 3. There were 3 wishes, and yeah, because of the 3x things, and because of these Fabuta have like 3. Yeah, she mentioned that she have like 3% that she can love.
Who has 3 people that she can love?
Fabuta. So she, yeah, the like the symbol that she always put on, that symbol of like a human, the young things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of them is her mother. The other one is Gabu-chan, Gabu-run.
Right. The robot.
And the third one, she want to assign that to Regu.
Okay.
Remember that?
Vaguely, yeah. I mean, I remember her. There's a whole bunch of symbolism of that little human-looking shape.
Yep.
Because there at one point, I think it's later on when it's a flashback to her meeting the robot, Gaburun, for the first time. He's the one who like teaches her the language, because she acquires language really quickly. Actually, the same way that Rico does. I wonder if there's any reason for that. I wonder if Rico herself is like not human, and she's a hollow. who's managed to exist outside of the abyss.
Because he was born inside the abyss, actually.
Right. Yeah, so it could be that she's not human at all. Because the fact that Faputa and Rico can both pick up language so quickly strikes me as a very specific parallel.
All right.
But anyway,
I think
when during the language learning scenes between Faputa and Gabudun, that's when she like he teaches her about the different degrees of like worth and desire and stuff, and the one at the top of the totem pole basically is that human shape. But I didn't draw any connection between that and the number of wishes that her mother had or the number of cradles of desire or anything.
Yeah, because from what I thought that was like the Irumiu got like 2 wishes, and one of the and the other one belonged to Wazuchan.
Okay.
Because he kept one on his own, and he actually kind of wished something, I think maybe his wish is about the village.
Do you see him using one of them?
I think like it was revealed that they saw Ovuelo saw like one wish, and there was like a brief chat between her and Bazuchan before he locked her away.
Okay, I don't remember that at all.
But I'm unsure of that.
Because the whole point of him feeding them to Irumui was because adults can't use them, like only children can use them.
Yep, that's true.
But I don't know. Maybe it was possible for him to have used one of them somehow. I don't know.
Yep. Well, I actually thought at first that Wazuchan is Machikacha, because the way that Machikacha is the first citizen in there that the three men meet, and the fact that he can speak like somehow speak the language.
Yeah.
Turn out it's not. Turn out it's just he was a nobody, I think.
Well, he's a robot, isn't he?
Machikacha.
Yeah.
He was a robot.
Yeah, he was a robot.
All right.
Wasn't he? Because he transforms into that gigantic thing that they ride on his back in the last couple episodes.
Yep.
He's a mech of some description.
Yep. I have no idea. He was a robot. I have no idea.
He has to be.
Like we didn't know his form before, right?
What do you mean before?
Like before he changed form.
I think we knew he was a robot from the very beginning.
All right.
I don't know, but it's.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, there was also a reference to him being like his true form is like exists somewhere inside of him.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. There's just too many non-human characters and too many variants of non-humans to keep track of everybody. But yeah, he.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he bears some resemblance to Wazukyan. A little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole thing with the Nanachi as well. So where, God, I think she can never get rid of
Midi.
Midi, her best friend.
Yeah, it was weird. The reveal that Bondrewd had been
weird.
there and that Bailoff wanted to use Midi as like a food source. So somehow he spent a bunch of value in order to create a perfect clone of Midi.
Yep.
It just how does that work? What?
I don't know how
What?
All right, I don't know how that works, but it actually a pretty excellent investment.
It's infinite life. Yeah.
And he gets just suck her, like whenever he wants.
Right.
Jeez.
Disgusting, dude. This season was disgusting.
at in the first or the movie as well, that there always some like some kind of disgusting elements in there
I thought this
in the Mega Abyss.
I thought this one was way worse.
Really? All
Yeah.
right.
I mean, season 1, I don't remember being this gross.
Right.
Certainly, it gets pretty horrific during like the 1 hour finale of the first season. I think that's when you learn about like what happened to Mitty. Um,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
but Mitty, like the show treats Mitty with, a lot differently than it treats some of the characters that get all gored up and like like the way that Vuero turns into a hollow or starts to as she's ascending those stairs and the curse is seeping into Iruburu. It's so nasty.
Yep.
I don't want to see that. I would rather not see it.
I actually yeah, I think it's nasty. It's uncomfortable, but it's actually quite well done.
Ugh.
The way that like she's starting to deform.
Yeah.
Yep.
And her
Yeah.
one of her eyes turns black and like hangs out of its socket. Just
Yep.
man.
Yep.
And the way that Faputo was getting all like ripped to shreds as she
Oh
was
yeah,
fighting
yeah.
against all the monsters.
That thing, like she actually, like tried to devour them in order for well, it out of spite first, and then she actually actively eating them in order to like for her to regain her strength.
We were talking about like her
Because
eating the villagers.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And actually, it's more of like her gaining the memories or the emotion of her mother.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. Like in the whole thing is weird the way that they frame the one person how one person devour the other just for like for the sake of like, the greater good.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense to me that if these people have been living under the protection of Iruburu and they've like been benefiting from Irumiui's will and her life force and everything,
Yep.
that they can feed
Yep.
themselves to her daughter in order because her daughter is of like infinite worth, so she would be something that they would like want to sacrifice themselves for or worship, and it would be like returning the part to the whole. Like
Yep.
they themselves, their very existence and their essence is supposed to be with Faputa. Like that's where they belong.
Yep.
And it does kind of seems like the show is implying that it's completing the circle by doing this because Irumyui was like robbed of her I don't know, her humanity, her existence, her physical form, I guess, or at least she's not robbed of her physical form, she just transforms, but like, she's robbed of
intelligence.
her intelligence, like her personhood.
Yep.
And so she is able to regain it in some sense when Faputa eats these people. It's kind of interesting to think about, but at the same time, there's just way too much like people getting blown up, dying, getting their skin ripped off, eating each other. Man,
Yep.
I'm not trying to see all this. I'm just trying to watch some
Alright,
cute cartoons.
Yeah, I tell you what, like the whole law, the whole the system of how the new how this new world function is something just beyond me. But I actually like the flashback where we get like the full explanation of Irumiyu and the Iruburu village and how all the people like it really effective that like I still think about it like weeks after watching it.
Oh yeah,
So
I agree. That 2-part flashback, those two
Yep.
episodes, I think 7 and 8, definitely the
Yep.
highlight of this season for me.
That's right. It's I think it's the season at its most uncomfortable, but it's also as its most memorable. And
Yeah,
like
you can't look
it's like
away.
a punch in the gut
Yep.
for you. Yeah.
Excuse me there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I mean, to be honest, I was more uncomfortable during some of the later episodes because I think my
Right.
comfort level kind of matches up with my appreciation for the show. Like, if it's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
disgusting, but
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep.
I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
spellbound watching it all play out, then in my mind, like I don't know, I'm sort of led to be a little bit comforted or more comfortable by that, understanding the
Mm-hmm.
purpose behind what I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching, feeling as
Mm-hmm.
though it's I don't know, like I'm using my time well, or that I'm being rewarded, or that I'm having some sort of experience that justifies sitting through this. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and if I don't have that feeling, then I'm gonna feel more uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Did you?
Yeah, totally. The whole all the like battle scenes,
Yep.
which I was not particularly engaged by, honestly. The
Mm-hmm.
battle scenes in
Mm-hmm.
general, like,
Yeah,
I mean, it would
because
be
it,
hard for them
it
to live up to the standards set by the film.
yeah, but I mean like the whole battle thing in this season is more, like it's more personal, it's more inside rather than the battle scenes.
I
So
I don't think I agree. I mean, certainly there's a whole bunch of history that the characters are working through as they're fighting one another, or fighting the creatures that eventually invade after
mm,
Reg uses the incinerator. But I just wasn't satisfied by all of Faputa's, you know,
killing.
yeah,
Uh,
just her going on a
yep,
rampage. Like,
yep.
I don't know. I think it probably had a lot to do with the visual presentation. It was
Yep.
not really. It wasn't really attention grabbing for me.
Mm, mm,
Like, whenever the show wanted to depict her like moving quickly, it would she would kind of curl herself up into a ball a little bit, like a ball of fur.
yep.
And
Mm,
there's a lot of potential for you to portray a character moving that way that I felt like the show didn't capitalize on, and especially the scene where she kills Balaf, and
yep.
he imparts his memories to her. That's just a bunch of stills, man. I was very let down by that.
Right.
I would have preferred, for there just to be like one shot of her like breaking through his armor, and then cut to her like kind of floating amongst the clouds, like in within his consciousness, and then
Yep.
cut to
But
her like bursting through his armor on the other side, and he's dead. Rather than those stills, I feel like that was,
yeah.
you have to imagine the director did not want things to go that way, and that was just a time saving measure.
Well, yeah, but one thing is Fabuta, like fighting style is unconventional as well. So we see a lot of especially when she was on the rampage, killing on the citizen. We'll see her like like go through the body of someone. Like she actually uh dive into their body and like kill from the inside.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think she was about to do that with Regu as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only time that we really see the effects of her doing that, and how like visceral it is with Reg.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
every
That's
other time
yep,
that she does it, including the time when she invades like the giraffe thing
yep.
in its neck,
Hmm.
and whatever the other green monsters were, where she's like inside
Giraffe.
their throat.
Yep.
Um, those I thought were all like less effective, and I mean, obviously that's because Reg is a character that you care about, and so when he's in danger, you're like, what's gonna happen?
Yep.
Um, but man, I mean, I think if the Faputa stuff had been more detailed, I would have like appreciated it more, and felt more
Mm.
of the hatred that she had
Yep.
for all the people who took advantage of her mother for so many years.
Yeah. Well, I felt it all right.
Okay. I mean, the only times that I really connected with this season, I feel, were the two-part flashback to the
Yep.
establishment of Iruburu, and how that came to be, and also the
Yep.
final conversation between Buero and Faputa, as Buero was kind of like communicating as though Faputa were her mother, Irumyui, because that put me back in the same mind space as the initial story, that initial 2-part flashback. Because Voedo was the one character who refused. No, I mean, Voedo did eat when she was unconscious, right?
She did.
Yeah,
Yes.
when she was like just barely waking up, someone spoon-fed her. But she was like a conscientious objector.
That somebody was Wazu-chan, by the way.
Yeah.
And another effective moment is Nanachi again learn to let go of Mitty. I love that scene.
Yeah, I actually now that you mention it, I did appreciate that. But it was just like residual emotion from having watched the first season.
Right.
You know, it's not as though that was like an extended story or anything. It was just a reunion with Mitty and then having to say goodbye again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think Made in Abyss, if you have asked the average Made in Abyss viewer for like the one moment from the series that stands out, I think it's going to be the story of Nanachi and Mitty. And her, because in the first season really puts in the work. Like there's multiple episodes of her struggling with what she's going to do. Like what should Mitty's future look like? Should she ask, when she discovers that Reg has this power to like break the laws of reality, essentially with his incinerator, she thinks about that long and hard, you know?
And I actually remember that Nanachi, tried multiple ways to kill Mitty as well.
Yeah, and that just adds to the anguish.
Yeah, and instead to make her suffer because Mitty couldn't die.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yep.
Very, very twisted. A lot of potential for emotion in the way that Made in Abyss tells its stories, and the particular strangeness that it has, but a lot of potential for you to get grossed out as well, and for some of its power perhaps to be lost in the process, depending on who's watching,
Yep, that's true. So still a good season. I don't actually really, personally involved in the story like I did in the first season of the movies, but still a good one.
I thought it was all right. I mean,
I thought it was all right.
If a show can, I don't know, if a show can get me on the hook for even a couple episodes, I'd say that based on where I'm at as an anime viewer, I mean that is already kind of enough. Because most anime, I will watch like half of one episode and just be like, "This is some bullshit," So if it can get me to watch and keep watching, I can't say too many negative things about it. But at the same time, like this is nowhere near the first season for me. It's not close.
All right. Let's see if the other two show is what Booper just mentioning about.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we find out. All right. You have any other note before we move on to?
No.
To the
we already talked about Made in Abyss for too long.
Yep. All right. Let's go to Lycoris Recoil.
Lycoris Recoil. Yeah. Okay. How'd you like it?
All right. All right. Now that I've watched the whole thing, I would say that I like it, but I have a mixed feeling about the whole shows. So if have like, if had the characters that I like, if have the action, like all the action scene are actually look pretty good. It's pretty fun to watch. I really like the big concept of like this working as the assassin behind the scenes, and like I also like the premise of Takina, like who been expelled from the
DA
the headquarter, come to this cafe, and doing side jobs. I really like all the thing behind that. It's just like the way that it get into the main conflict. I just feel very little about, especially when it comes to Chisato and her with the guy who supposedly saved her.
Yoshimatsu.
Yeah, that guy.
Hmm.
Oh man, I feel it's just not good, and
Yeah.
the show has a difficult time deciding who is the main antagonist. So that's why there's a mix between that guy and Machima.
Well, I don't think the show takes a strong stance against anyone in particular. The show seems
Mm-hmm.
to have some sympathy for Majima and his perspective. That like the
Yep,
truth is being
I
hidden from
agree with that.
people, and so he just wants to expose the hypocrisy of the DA and of the Japanese government.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the show is so sympathetic towards that minds, even though in the end we just go back to the status quo, and
Yep.
everything that you saw on TV when Majima and the robot guy were hacking, that was just a prank, guys. It cost 500 million yen in taxpayer money, but it was just a prank. Wasn't that crazy? Did you tweet about
Yeah.
this? I know you tweeted about this.
Yep.
Let's give a round of applause to our special effects people for making all this up, because that was definitely not real.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
insane. And
I
Majima's final gunfight with Chisato, when they take a break in the middle of it and they both try like a sip of the same soda. Uh,
Yep.
what? Who wrote
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. It actually, yeah, you can never fail that. Nashima wanted to kill Chisato for one thing, because for him, she, like she's like his main obsession, and like he kind of like appreciate more than, like see her as an enemy.
Right. It's like
We
those
see we
villains
see
who
that
say
one
to
before.
the like, "We're
Yeah.
the same," or "You complete me," to the hero.
Yep.
It's kind of that situation.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's kind of a mix between like this one look like a psychopath. He's like the main villain of the psychopath who want to, um like growing the flaw of the system,
Yeah.
who feel like the outcast, and but it just, like halfway there. It's not really there at the level of like the
You're talking about
psych.
Makishima from Psychopaths, the
Yeah,
white-haired
that's right.
guy who has no
The
crime
one.
coefficient.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's a mix between that and, Chisato uh with Yoshimatsu
Yeah, because
with
they're both Allen children. They both have
yeah,
the owl pendant and stuff.
and I especially hate that I actually don't like that like that plot thread, because the way Chisato act against Yoshimatsu is, like I kind of feel like she betray her own personality. Like she doesn't really act that way. Like I don't see her act that way.
What do you mean? Like her being too forgiving of him?
She like to plight it when it comes to Yoshimatsu. I can understand why.
Oh,
I
because
just
he
feel
saved her
like,
life.
yeah, but it's just so misguised.
Because he
The whole
saved her life,
thing.
and because she's the sort of person who would never take someone else's life because she uses like rubber bullets with weird
Yep.
red powder in them.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and because she has some sort of connection to her two dads, Mika and Yoshi. There's that crayon drawing of the two of them holding hands with her in the cafe.
Yep.
And I don't think we ever, I mean, I guess we do see some very brief, like one or two scene flashbacks where she remembers spending time with the two of them together in her youth. I think it would have made a lot of sense to have one of those kind of be extended to be like, I don't know, just 1 or 2 minutes.
I agree.
And then we would have gotten a much clearer picture of the affection that she feels for him, instead of him just being kind of somebody who she met in a hallway at the DA one time, and she's like,
And
"You're the guy who's going to save my life," or "You're the one who." I forget exactly how
yeah,
she identifies him as her savior.
and Mr. Yoshi, Jisoo, and she took a pictures. Like if this guy who meant to be, like behind the scenes, who meant to not be seen, he have to do more in order for like for his picture does not appear in someone else's camera.
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't buy that.
It's the head of the DA, the red-haired woman,
Yep.
Kusunoki. I see her name is here looking on any list. She's the
Right.
one who gives the camera back to Chisato. Like, are you
Yeah.
trying to tell me that camera was not confiscated at any point or destroyed, or
Yeah. Well,
that doesn't make a lot of sense. But
it
I mean,
doesn't.
that's
It
also a
doesn't really
very
make a lot of sense.
minor point. The part that is actually problematic, and
Yep.
not in like a social justice sort of way, but problematic in terms of the story making any sense or feeling believable, is that like Chisato is just, I don't know, she's just unwilling to hold a grudge towards anyone for any of the shit that she's been put through or any of the terrible things that the DA are responsible for or that the Japanese government is responsible for or that Majima is responsible for. She's just like, I don't know, she just doesn't get angry. She doesn't react to things in like a human way.
Well, she enjoy her own life, like being a health with her friends.
She enjoys her own life to
who-
the exclusion of caring about anything else. In fact, there's a particular discussion between her and, I guess, Majima,
Akina.
where she's like,
Yep.
"Oh yeah, I don't really care about anything else that's going on in the world as long as I have my friends."
Yep,
Whereas
yep,
he
she
hates the
say that.
hypocrisy that he sees all across Japan, and he cares more about the world than about any one individual. So they're kind of opposites in that way.
Yep.
But I don't really care about the fact that they're opposites or that they're in conflict with one another because neither of their characters really seems to, I don't know, have recognizable emotional responses to things. Chisato
Right,
just
right.
gets sad whenever she's not near Takina. That's like what guides her, I guess.
Yep. And that is then come to other side character as well. Like take Erika. I don't know if you remember Erika. The
The red-haired
It's-
girl who Takina saves in episode 1, right?
That's right. And she unlike others think that Takina did the dry season, so she have like she kind of appreciate Takina action, and like she always meant to like saying thank you to Takina for saving her life, and it take her like a whole season in order to do that. I think we have a really like strong base action like in there, like a really strong characters development in there, but the way that it actually does with in terms of Erika's like saying appreciation to Takina, it just the way that they did show is like it just
She gives her a little hug.
not if if it, I don't feel anything out of this.
Well, I mean, it just
And-
took too long for the show to give us the payoff,
And-
and there were so few opportunities for her to do it.
Yeah, and I certainly see the potential of like this can be a beautiful like moment. I just don't see that potential like fully let out.
Well, I think that speaks to a larger problem with the show, which is that the entire concept of the Lycoris and the DA, which manages them and gives them their missions and stuff, is completely like it's not detailed at all, and it's completely preposterous. Makes no sense whatsoever. So any character who isn't named Chisato or Takina, who is a member of the DA,
It's a dickhead.
yeah, it just doesn't really factor into the story at all and does not matter. And one of the clearest illustrations of this is after Takina gets her job back, and there are multiple points where like she's part of a mission briefing or something, and she just interrupts everything that's going on. Like for example, when Robota hacks into the DA's computer system, and then the red-haired woman Kusunoki is talking to Majima, who's like addressing all the DA and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna blow stuff up," blah blah blah. Takina is just like, "Wait a minute, You have to tell me where Yoshimatsu is. She just,
Yep.
you know, like tears the script in half, and she's like, no, it's my story. All of this shit about like guns and revenge and social hypocrisy and
Can't wait.
yeah, none of that matters. What matters is like Chisato and Takina.
Yeah,
And there's
and
another moment where she does this similar interrupting thing where they're getting the mission briefing when they're going to storm the tower and go up to the top. And Takina's like, wait a minute, where is Chisato?
yep. And even more frustrating is that like the team, the IT team behind, like all that, telling Fuki to like keep story time so we can pinpoint the exact location, and like as soon as they say that, I know that they can never do that because they just they're just a bunch of really unqualified individual who cannot do anything without Chisato or Takida.
Well, yeah, it's not even that they're unqualified. It's just that they don't matter whatsoever. They're going to have zero impact on the story. Because as far as I can tell, all the stuff about like, espionage missions and, the Lycoris being agents who are trying to like take out threats or avert potential, violent incidents and stuff. All of that is just because the person who came up with the idea for the show likes action movies or something.
I do love the action though. I do love all this action scene, but I don't think it's factored that much.
I mean, one thing I will say is that there were some episodes where I was like, oh man, this is not looking good. The use of 3D environments in several episodes, particularly the one where
cat chase.
You remember the one where there's a guy, like they're tasked with being bodyguards for a guy who's wearing like glasses and is in a wheelchair. And it turns out that secretly he was somebody all along. I mean, I've already forgotten the details. I have them here in my notes.
I remember that. Yep.
Somewhere. Where is this?
That episode is the guy who
it's the one
who's supposed to be a millionaire who came back from America.
Right, and he needs protection from like an assassin called Gene, Silent Gene.
Yep.
Yeah. But really, the reason he wanted revenge is because Gene killed his whole family or something.
Yep.
Yeah, but the thing...
It's not the real reason, though.
What? Yep. What's the real reason?
It's not the real... There's no real reason because he isn't exist. So the real reason is...
right.
Yeah, the real reason is Yoshimatsu wanted to create a situation where Chisato had to kill someone.
See, and this is my actual, like, the biggest problem with the show, is that the whole, the whole crux of the fact that Chisato doesn't want to kill and Takina does, and the idea that Alan designed Chisato in order to be like a perfect killer, and this is like her God-given gift, and she has to use it. And Takina's like, yeah, we're assassins. You should kill people. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. That whole conflict, that whole like clash of ideologies has no specificity to it whatsoever. Yoshimatsu just wants her to be a killer because he wants her to be a killer. There's not a specific mission that he wants her to carry out. There's not anything in particular he wants to do. He just wants her to be a killer because he made her that way. And that is so boring. It indicates a complete lack of planning and imagination on the part of the writing team or person. I can't imagine more than one person thought of anything that happened in the show. It was probably one guy who was doing it all on his own and was like, man, this is the best idea of all time.
Yeah, I would say less as boring, but more as shallow. It just at the end of the day, I think all Yoshimatsu want to do is I will get Chisato to try to kill someone.
Yeah, but for what reason?
Yeah, even if it's me to prove my point.
Yeah, that's that's where the show gets completely crazy.
Yeah, and that's the only point in the whole show that I kind of lost it. I kind of just get over with but like I enjoy the other part of that. I actually, like even I think that the Yoshimashu and Chisato relationship is like the worst thing that Lycoris Recoil had to like think
Yeah,
of.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. We still have the moment of the Yoshimashu and Mika, and they imply like relationship to each other.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. That's
I
interesting.
I, I yeah, I don't like the last scene where Mika had to shoot him because it's more conventional that way. But
Well, wasn't
I
wasn't Miko the one who enabled Chisato with the rubber bullets and with the
yep
weird red mist and stuff? And he was the one who,
yep
even though he taught her everything that she knows, he also made it so that she wouldn't have to kill anyone because he didn't want.
yep
So if
yep.
if he's all about pacifism and about nonviolence and about the preservation of human life, why does he have to kill Yoshimatsu?
Well, because like he consider, I think him as a threat to Chisato.
So just
Like
handcuff him.
yep, like the others. Uh, because Chisato consider Mika and that guy as her. I think her fathers and
Yeah,
her
I
parents.
agree.
So so the way Mika want to punish the other one, they just like try to kill him so that he can have like all of his way to Chisato. I don't know.
No, 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 no. I don't think that's what was going
Well,
through his mind. I don't even think the show really took account what was going through his mind in that moment.
hold on, hold on. I do think he might need to kill him because like it's the new heart inside Yoshimashu at the time.
Uh, was it?
Yeah, because
Did he actually have Chisato's new heart inside of him, or was that just a bluff?
I have no idea why. I have no idea actually. So maybe that's the reason Mika had to kill him in order to get the heart for Chisato.
Yeah, I guess. But wouldn't
Does it
wouldn't
make more
wouldn't
sense?
killing him like cause the heart to shut down? Or I know it's mechanical or artificial, but wouldn't that like be
Yep.
damaging to it somehow?
No. No.
No, we
With
just needed the
the
cool
with the
scene where he shoots him.
yeah, it's the technology that like far surpass the present technology limitation.
Right. Kind of like Chisato
So
surpasses all human ability by being able to dodge bullets just because that's
yep.
her special superpower.
And you know what? I was really intrigued in the fact that of the Tokyo towers. Like who that look like. Like it's the last act of terrorism, and it's like the act of peace. I really love that idea. I just don't think. And I like the fact that Chisato was the person behind that. I just don't think that like many of these of the plot that we just point out there, it reached the full potential.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the flashback to what happened at the tower, and I know Chisato was like responsible for a lot of the damage, but it's not as though she was the one who was tasked with destroying it. That was Majima.
Yep,
She
that's true.
just went crazy in her attempts to like defend it, I guess.
Yep. And that's the thing because at that point Chisato still the one who killed everyone. And then after the surgery, she like completely changed her personality to be like the one who doesn't care about like the job anymore. The one who like really enjoy her life with her friends. Like doesn't care what the rest of the world do. We don't see that. I want to see more of that change of personality if like if they want to show that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that was the show's priority, and I honestly I wouldn't
Mhm.
say that it should be a priority because I mean, we've talked about a whole bunch of like the Chisato's backstory and stuff as it relates to characters like Yoshimatsu and Mika and everything, but we haven't really talked about what the relationships that she forms in the present. Um,
Yeah,
that
so
was the
she had
show's focus. Like
Takeda.
the show
Yep,
was mostly about having
that's true.
fun with the girls and kicking ass and averting terrorist plots. That was just kind of like tucked away into the
Yep.
corners of a few episodes at the front before we went crazy in the last handful. But it's
Yep.
it's all about Chisato, Takina, Mizuki, and Kurumi. And I mean, even with that stuff, I wasn't. I mean, I'm over here complaining about everything, like the show's greater story.
Mhm.
That doesn't make sense. I also didn't care one bit about anything that was like more lighthearted.
All right. I think that's where I different. I different, So I actually kind of enjoy, like the present moment of, like Chisato Takina, especially Takina. I think for her character, she does a lot to, like to carry this whole show. Except for the few moment that you just mentioned earlier. I like Kurumi and Mizuki well enough as well to be the whole cast. I just feel like I actually, now that I mentioned that, I had some issue with the current timeline, because I feel like some of the events happen too quickly. Like it's, for example, like the Takina wanted to for the cafe to make profits. So we have like a 10 minute of, like of the whole montage of her, like trying to raise the popularity of the cafe.
Yeah, that's where she
And
makes the poop looking parfait,
yeah,
right?
that's right. And it's and like the time frame, it have to be like a few months for that to happen, but we just, kind of gloss over everything. And then, like, if I remember correctly, at the end of the episode, it's Chisato decision to, like, close up the shop. So, like, the whole thing just, like, kind of uh gloss over a bit quickly.
At the end of that episode, Shisato decides to close the shop.
Chisato is when she have like her hat being uh uh her
That's where
yeah,
she's
when
been
she know.
kidnapped and she's on the operating table.
Yeah.
She doesn't decide to
Yeah,
close
that's
up anything, does she? She's kidnapped.
yeah. But afterwards, after she know that she doesn't have more to live, I think she's the one who say who want to like to end on this. So she get Kurumi and Mizuki to go, like to go overseas,
Yeah.
and she arranged for Takina to go back to the headquarters.
Yeah, well, she makes a
And
deal with Kusunoki. She's like, you got to let Takina come back, and if you
yep,
do, then I don't know, comply with your wishes, or I can't remember exactly what she offers, but she makes a
yeah,
deal for
she
Takina
joined.
to get reinstated.
Yep. So yeah, the whole thing. I mean, like I said, I really like the core concept of all this, and I like the character well enough. I like the action scene well enough. It's just the way that it does for the main plot. It just it doesn't really reach the full potential that I really hope for.
I would go way farther than that. I would say there was no potential to begin with. Yeah,
Really?
the entire concept of the series, that there's a girl who doesn't want to kill, and that there's a guy who saved her life and wants her to do it, there's no foundation there at all. That's just an
No, no,
idea.
no, 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 no. I think the whole the potential of the show is about um a bunch of assassins, like even underage assassins who, like raised by the government and who work behind the scenes and get and like somehow, like maybe in some way get exposed to the public, how they manipulate the system. I like that idea.
But that's just an idea.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
that's right.
anything
I
beyond just an idea.
And in some way, Machima kind of bring that to attention. But yeah, I just don't like the way it
Oh,
resolved.
dude, when you just said Majima's name, I just remembered his plan to like plant guns everywhere.
Yep,
One of
yep,
the
yep, yep,
dumbest
yep,
parts of
yep.
the entire show. Like the scene where the robot guy is always doing hacking stuff for him. So he hacks in to the mainframe. Majima gets his face up on all the screens everywhere and people's cell phones and stuff. And so there's that one scene of a guy, like a businessman or something, sitting on a park bench. He looks underneath the park bench for some reason. There's a paper bag there. He opens the paper bag. There's a gun. He takes the gun out of the paper bag. A cop is right nearby. The cop's like, freeze! The guy's like, oh no, don't shoot. And then he accidentally like somehow like starts to fall to the side and shoots the cop.
Yeah,
and that
just
supposedly
so clumsy.
kicks off a bunch of violence all over the city. Like, no.
Yeah,
No to all of that.
Yeah, I do think that this is like a scene from Psychopath, and Psychopath does this so much better than this.
I mean, I think Psychopaths was way more realistic in its depiction of violence breaking out among like the common people, like citizens.
Yep.
This show was just like, oh no, there's guns everywhere. I guess there's going to be gun violence now. People are finding the guns and they're going to... Oh, there's also the scene where he's like, Lycoris are all among you. They're in schoolgirl uniforms. And then one guy who sees a schoolgirl nearby, he like starts to draw his gun on her because he's suspicious that she could be a Lycoris.
Yep.
And then they end up shooting each other and everyone's like screaming in the background. It was like just very... I don't know what to say other than I'm not about it. I'm not about it.
Yeah, well, I still see some neat ideas behind that. I just like the way that it sprang out. So
I also don't like Chisato. I just don't like the characters. Like Chisato's her voice actress went absolutely berserk with all of the ridiculous cutesy inflections that she was using for her lines. I can't imagine what kind of direction she was receiving from the voice director. Like, no, more cute, more kawaii, no, more utsukushi, more moe, more. What was he saying to her in order to get this performance for her? Or is she just like a crazy person? Is Chika Anzai, who voiced Chisato, just insane? Every time she talked, I was like, I would rather you not.
how about Takina? Do you like Takina?
I mean, I
you just don't
certainly
care?
tolerated her voice a lot more easily.
Right.
I mean, I think the designs in the show are... I think the designs are the number one reason for the show's success. The character designs, for sure. Because everyone's like, oh, Chisato, she's so cute. She's so badass. Oh yeah, Takina. Now she's her perfect counterpart. You know, she's got the cooler personality, more reserved, but you can tell that they're really getting along together. They're really starting to feel something for each other. Oh man, you got the little hacker girl. You wouldn't expect that she's gonna be the hacker because she's so short. And oh man, like the designs are just so great. And that's great for this show and great for everyone who enjoyed it. But I didn't like when the designs started talking. I didn't like when the designs were part of larger stories. I didn't like when the designs were just doing anything apart from just being on screen. And man,
Oops. It's Pooper on his his normal rant.
yeah, show's not good. I didn't like it.
All right, I like it well enough. I'm a bit disappointed by the whole result, but I still say that I have a good time with it.
Nice.
If it have like a movies, I actually really wanted for this to be remade in a movie form.
No, that would be terrible, wouldn't it? Because then all of the focus of the movie would be on the larger plot.
Yeah, but I just want it to be reboot.
Oh, I see.
with the same basic idea, and like they go a different way
I mean, I think the
of
story is
that.
pretty thin, so it being a
Yep.
movie makes more sense than it being a television show. But you would still
Yep.
have to retool everything that existed here in order to make the movie, I don't know,
Yep.
make
Hmm.
sense.
Yep. All right.
Just make
All
it like
right.
Die Hard, but with cute girls.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
I mean, I think that's probably like if you were to try to pitch this show, you'd be like, okay, now imagine this. It's Die Hard, but instead of Bruce Willis, you have a cute blonde girl with big tits, uh, and she
Loli.
doesn't kill people.
All right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Sold.
All right. Let's get to the last show, shall we?
All right.
Yofukashi no Uta, Core of the Night.
Yep.
Uh, when you ask me, when like after 6 episodes, is it gonna change? Or is it gonna be like that? I was like watching up until episode 6 2 days ago, and I still enjoy it. I feel like if it's going on like this, I would be happy to watch it. And then something else happened. I think like episode 7 or 8, we see others vampires.
Yeah. 8 is the one where he, there's that scene
He
on the
got kidnapped.
rooftop between all the different vampires, and he's
Yep.
he's there,
Yep.
and they're like, "Hey, you're a human. We're
Yep.
vampires, and you better not be telling people about us, or we're gonna
Yep.
kill
Yep.
you."
Yep. Oh, that's right. Yep. All right. So how do you take up the show in general before we go any further?
Well,
Well,
I'm done. I finished. I finished it.
yep.
I made it to the end.
Right. I do think that there's still potential for season 2
It does seem like
because
there's going
we.
to be a second season.
Yep.
I won't be
All
watching.
right. Okay. I actually at first I think that like the story of a a guy who can't sleep at night, so that he go roaming around the cities and like meeting this girl who happened to be a vampire, and they form a pact, is a bit thin a premise to begin with. So I kind of like doubted that that it can sustain a like a season of 13 episodes, and I think this is part of your reason why, right?
Um, kind of, but
It,
but not. I mean, not really. I would
yeah.
be okay with the show that's just the adventures of some guy who goes out on the town at at night and gets into some wacky shenanigans and stuff. But it just feels too small. I think
Right.
like there are entire episodes where it's just him and Nazuna like hanging out.
Yep.
And whenever
Yep.
the show introduces a character, it's usually a woman, and it usually does so in like very harem anime fashion. There'll the whatever the character introduction is, it will have something to do with like how attractive they are, or how they are experiencing some sort of problem in their personal life that the main character is, of course, equipped to solve or talk to them about, so they realize something important about themselves. Like, for example, the office lady with the red glasses who's like,
Yep.
"Oh, I hate my job, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Oh, but what if you just didn't do that?" Whoa, you're right. Thanks. Um, I don't know. I just I could have dealt with the the story, and I mean I did deal with it. Like I watched the episode, and I'm no worse for the wear. I mean I watched the season, and I'm no worse for the wear. But I would have liked the ideas behind all the different episodes to be more concrete. Like he
Yep.
goes out at night and this happens, or he goes out at night and this happens, and
Yep.
there being like a plot for that
Yep.
particular episode, instead of it being like, oh, let's go out and have a date, let's go to a pool, Then they go,
Yep.
and the only thing substantial that really happens is that they went.
Yep.
They
It's
went
a
to
bit.
the pool. That's it.
It's a yeah. It's a bit aimless at times. I can feel that too. But isn't kind of aimless is like kind of like the idea of like going around at night.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty bulletproof defense, isn't it? Like, man,
Yep.
this show doesn't seem to have a lot of drive behind it. Well, isn't that the whole point of the entire show?
Yep.
Oh,
Well,
well, okay, well, I guess.
I yeah, I can tell you that I enjoy when co-meeting other characters. Like at first, I afraid that like Cole and Dajima doesn't really sustain a full series, but yes, he meet people along the way, and like you said, like mostly girls, and like with different personality, and then vampire get into the mix. So I think he got like a great variation of characters with different personality to enjoy the night. Yeah, I kind of like that, and the visual, the city looked really enchanting, and yeah, I think it come to myself who really love walking alone at night. I did that before, and I still does it sometimes. So I like the idea behind this.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just got finished complaining about Lycoris Recoil for 30 minutes. I don't know what to say here. Like, this, it's just a harem anime. And
Yep.
every like opportunity that it takes for itself to be like, oh, but we're not, it's not your mom's harem anime, like it's not your grandpa's harem anime, is
Yep.
just pretend. Like
Right.
when one of the female characters that he meets will like come on to him and he'll be like, uh, what? Like what are you
Yep.
doing? This is weird. Why are you acting this way? And then the female character will be like, "What? This is so strange. How could a character in this situation react that way?" It's completely artificial. I
Yep.
the scene, like for example, the scene where the detective Anko is her name, I guess I can't remember her last name.
Yep.
Uh,
Uncle. Yep.
Uguisu, I guess, is her family name, but Anko, when she's in episode whatever, like 12
Yep.
or something, 13, where she's like, "Oh, I see that you finally came back to me, and now
Yep.
we're gonna have like an affair together or something." He's like, "Huh? No, we're not."
Yep.
It just
Yep.
seems very clear to me that that's supposed to be the selling point of like his character and almost the whole show is that he's not your typical harem anime protagonist, but really he is.
Hmm.
Really he is, and there's nothing here for me.
Yep. I actually this is kind of I think intentionally remind me of Monogatari series.
Well, it
Also
shares a
about
director, right?
yep. Yep. Yep.
Not
And
Shinbo, but one of the Monogatari series directors worked on this
that's
show.
right. And about also the same, like honey guys who meet a bunch of people.
People,
Some of them, yeah, some of them happen to be vampires. It shares really, like it shares the same vibe. This is not quirky. Sorry, this is not as quirky, but I think the direction on this show is really strong. I
I kind of got tired of the show's presentation after a while.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
really, liking it after the first
Mhm.
episode,
Yep.
but a lot of the color filters, a lot
Mhm.
of the lighting that really emphasized, I don't know, street lights, lights coming in from building windows and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of the characters being pushed off to one end of the frame or the other.
Mhm.
Uh, the wide angle shots, they're just
Mhm.
were ever present. After a while,
Mhm.
it seemed to me that the reason for their implementation was a little bit muddy. Like they were just part of the
Yeah.
show's style, and I couldn't really identify why.
Mhm. Mhm. All right. You have any favorite characters? There's a lot of good to choose from.
I don't think I have a favorite. No, I don't think so. I can tell you who my least favorite is. It's Arisa, the girl who takes the pictures of herself and posts them online as though a pervert is doing it.
Which one?
Do you remember the
I
cafe episode, the maid cafe episode?
Yeah. All right.
There's like a mystery that takes up the whole episode about
Yep.
the fact that one of the waitresses there, who used to be the number one waitress but lost her position and became number two after one of the vampires, Midori, was employed there. So Arisa, she's a redheaded character. She's a human. And she takes pictures of herself while she's changing with her smartphone and uploads them, pretending that they're like creep shots, that someone is taking these pictures of her while she's working.
Hold on. Why I don't have any memory of that episode?
Okay, well, I got my notes on it right here. I can even tell you what number it is. Let me see.
Did I skip an episode or something?
It's possible. Do you remember the Maid Cafe episode?
Nope.
Okay, you just
Not
didn't.
at all.
You didn't watch it then, I guess.
Jeez. All right.
Well, you got an episode to look forward to, man. There you go. Let me see which episode number is it.
All right. It features one of your least favorite characters.
Definitely my least favorite. Is it episode 6? No.
All right. Is it before or after Akira the Friends comes in?
Well, Akira comes in episode 2, right?
Right, 2 or 3. Yes.
Let me just Control F Maid in my notes.
Yep.
No matches. Oh my god, did I dream this episode? No.
Is it the same show that we're talking about?
Yes, definitely. Oh, it's episode 10. Okay, episode 10. My only notes for this episode are: girl takes risque photos and pretends it was a customer at her workplace, but it's okay because we're all a little strange in our own ways.
Hold on. I thought episode 10. So this was the episode before he meet
Uncle.
Uncle.
Right.
All right. Is there any result to co-friends the boy? Remember, like we see like, the
Mahiru,
boy,
his friend from elementary school.
He hanging out with some older woman.
Right. No, we don't. Later we see that the older woman works at like a hostess bar, right? When Ko is introduced to her, and there's just that shot of her cleavage for like 5 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of him looking at her. Yeah. All right.
There's that's when we meet her. I don't know if that's the same woman, but in terms of there being like a resolution to the mystery of who that woman is in episode 10 in particular, like if that's a question that you had and you wondered whether that information was in there, it's not. Some of the episodes, like for example, the one where they go to the pool, that's the second half of episode 6. The first half is where Ko gives the massage to the office lady with the glasses. So some episodes are like A part, B part. Whereas episode 10 is just all A part all the time, and it's him going to the maid cafe. One of the vampires from the rooftop scene in episode 8 works at the maid cafe. Nazuna is employed at the maid cafe. She gets a job there. And then this character who I really didn't appreciate very much also works there. And the plot revolves around her and the photos that she's taking of herself and pretending that it's a creepy customer who's doing it because she wants people to see, I don't know, her butt or something.
Yep. All right. Yep. I have no memory of that, so I might have skipped that. And that's interesting. And I think it kind of speaks to that show is that like it's kind of
perverted
slap life. So that like when I miss an entire episode, it just like add nothing to.
Right. Well, I mean, I would say out of all 13 episodes, just based on my recollections of all of them. Of course, they're all a little fuzzy because I watched them all at different times. But episode 10 is the least essential because that girl who I'm talking about, that character, I don't think recurs in any future episode. And if she does, it's only going to be for like 1 millisecond.
Yep. I can tell you the my list of favorite section story part of the show. I think it's the pool episode.
Yeah, I didn't really like the pool episode either. They just went to
Yeah,
the pool, and he was jealous.
that's it.
But I mean,
Yeah,
jealousy is like the most basic emotion to put in a rom-com anime or any anime where there's any sort of
yeah.
emotionality like between two characters.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk about like I think the last few episode is centered around Cole. Like having a COVID, having a second
I
decision
thought you said
about
having
him.
COVID.
Cold feet.
Cold feet. Oh yes, yeah. He's like, should I really become a vampire? Yeah.
Yeah, having a second thought about being a vampire, and we have a range of like good reason why he doesn't want to be. First, he saw a a vampire who has been like who haven't sucked up blood for 10 years. I don't know what the deal is with that vampire because he said like this is his last day. So like after that day he gonna die.
Yeah.
Not sure. All right.
Yeah.
Is it what happened?
Yeah. The
All
show
right.
likes to set time limits. Like, for example, if you don't fall in love with a vampire within 1 year of
For
your
one
blood being
year.
sucked, you can't become a vampire. Or
Yep.
if you don't have human like blood, if you don't drink blood for 10 years as a vampire, you die.
Right.
Stuff like that.
All right. So what does he do like in the 10 years? He just live inside the school.
I don't know, man.
Oh, all right. Just let that aside. And then he saw uncle who like who know what he's up to and who tell him that she had a way to kill all the vampire, so he be scared. And most importantly is like what he realized that he doesn't really know a vampire. So we got like the whole episode of he hanging out with another vampire Hasuka. And I think the response from Hasuka basically like vampire doesn't really know about the vampire themselves, like just like human doesn't really know about human.
Yeah, that seemed like a pretty big cop out to me.
I also feel that. Yeah, but I think it's provide a solid reason like of him have to think seriously about like becoming a vampire. I think I like that. So it still doesn't really resolve Cole and Nazuma like central part because he hasn't fallen in love with her.
Yeah, and the show is very precious about that, I feel.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
he's supposed to be really it's supposed to be so unexpected that he's not falling in love with her, and I don't know.
Yep.
I just don't. I mean, Ko's character is introduced that way. Like in the very first episode, the reason that he stops going to school is apparently related to like some girl confessing to him and him being like, "Oh, I don't understand romance, so
Yep.
I'm out.
Yep.
I'm out of here, guys." Like
Yep.
I just
Yep.
and there's a particular. I made a note of this in particular because I thought it was really just pretty dumb. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, yes. Okay. Episode 4 is the one where near the start, he's out wandering around at night because that's his thing. And he sees a
Yep.
couple up on the bridge, up above the street. And
Kissing.
yeah, and they're kissing.
Yep.
And then it launches into a weird internal monologue from his point of view. Like, wait a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't a kiss when people's lips touch? Just
Did he say that?
yes.
All right.
Just very, man, I don't know what to say about that. Like,
It's the first time he saw like someone kissing.
Yeah.
In his life.
but he obviously knows what a kiss is because he was able to identify what they did as a kiss. He had that word in his memory bank. It was part of his vocabulary. It just, I hate the dialogue. I hate the monologue.
Yeah. All right.
The way that the show tries to I don't know, like characterize him or kind of set him apart or make him appealing to the reader or interesting or whatever you would call it. Just for me, not a success like whatsoever. I don't
Yep.
know.
Yep. Understandable.
I like
Well.
characters who are depressed as hell.
Yep. Shinji.
And Nagara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I just would prefer for, I don't know, things to be a little more straightforward, like characters to act a little bit more like you might expect them to in any given circumstance. Like if you see a couple people kissing at the end of a date on the bridge, what do? You turn away.
Yep.
And I mean, I would even be fine with the typical anime, like getting really embarrassed sort of reaction in that scene, because that would be understandable. Like, you know, that's a private moment. You're not supposed to be involved in that or witnessing it. And he can be like, man, I've never seen two people going at it like that in public before. That's crazy. And then, like, you know, he encounters a female character and he's horny or something. So, man, I don't know. Just some vaguely human thing, and not him being like, wait a minute, so the dictionary definition of kissing is blah, 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 blah.
Yep. All right. I want to bring up to you one of the another plot in this in this one. See if you care.
Okay.
It's involved a blonde hair girl series.
A what?
And a blonde hair girl.
Yeah,
blonde hair
the vampire, right? Who's like a gyaru.
Yep. And so at one point, she and Cole, you know, like are in the karaoke, and there's a guy outside,
Akun.
you know, like knock on the door, creepy as hell.
Yeah.
And we kind of learn about, you know, like his relationship with series is that they're not supposed to be fully in love, because it's the first one, the only one that Seri kind of treated as a friend,
Right.
In quote, and you know, like not trying to make you know, like to do like any romance advantage, and he fully in love with her instead.
Yep.
And at the end of that, we see she turned him into her offspring.
Yeah. I remember
It's
that.
weird
Episode.
act.
You say that you think that's weird?
It's weird. It's just really weird. Like the way that it framed that guy as, like, you know, like he would be his obsession. It would be, you know, like some come from a horror movies, you know. So it's kind of hostile. And then when Cole talked to him, we start to see his eyes, and we see his side of the stories. I just don't buy that. I just don't buy all this.
Wait. Okay, I'm looking through my notes to try to find what I wrote about this episode. Yeah, it's episode 9.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was fine.
Right.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Like, he's obsessed with her because he's in love with her. So the condition for him becoming a vampire has been met.
Right.
So she sucks his blood and he becomes one of her offspring. Like, I don't know. I just kind of saw that as a natural progression.
Yeah.
I guess what you're saying is you didn't like the fact that he was so creepy and then he got his wish to become a vampire.
It also more like how Siri view him, you know, like it's not love that she view. So why did she want to turn him into a vampire?
Because she didn't want to lose him as a friend. Remember, she like breaks down crying, like, "You're the first friend I've ever had."
Right, so it's not love, but it's the friendship, and that's the thing that she doesn't want to lose. So she turned him into a vampire.
Right.
All right. That's kind of
because they couldn't go on being friends because he was in love with her, I guess.
Right. So at the end of that is that she still keep him around, and he still love her.
I don't know. We don't see
And
him after that.
maybe
Though Anko, the
maybe
detective,
we'll
does
get
ask about
jealous
him.
of her. Yeah, maybe we'll get jealous of her as well when her hanging out with other people.
I have no idea. I don't think he's really that important. I think
Yep.
most of the episodes taken individually are not very important.
Yeah, well, yep,
But I mean,
I can see that.
that's no problem for me. Like if I appreciate and enjoy all the episodes individually.
Yep.
But
Which
yeah.
would you not?
No, most of them I didn't. Episode 8 was the one where I was like, "Oh man, okay, we're getting into it. Like we're meeting all these new
Yep.
vampires. There's a threat, on Ko's life. He's got to really watch his step." And then the
Yep.
Anko, the detective, calling the cops on him
Yep.
was very
Yep.
bizarre to me. Like, obviously she wants to prevent him from hanging out at night, and becoming, like, getting closer to becoming a vampire. She doesn't want him to become a vampire because she hates vampires. She's going to kill them
Yep.
all, etc. But what is calling the cops going to do? Like, they're Japanese cops. They're like neighborhood pals, and they give directions
Yep.
to old women and stuff. What are they going to do? Is
Yeah,
the
they got,
threat
like-
that they're going to tell him to go back to school? Because if Japan has
Yep.
truancy laws which force you to go to school, then wouldn't the truant officers have already come to his apartment and been like, "You need to come to school"?
Yeah, the thing is, they don't know his identity yet.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, what is the threat that the cops pose? The only thing I can think of is
Right.
that they would send him back to school. But if that's something Japan requires, it would have happened already.
Yep.
If that's not something they can do, then all the police can do is be like, "Hey man, you need to go home." And he'll be like, "Oh, cool." Maybe they'll go as far as giving him a ride back to his apartment in their car.
Yep.
Then he'll go inside, go to sleep. The next night he'll just do it again. What are they going to do? I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, the one thing that I really like in the series is that Cole. We always see Cole. Like his action during the night. We never see him on the daylight, and
Yeah.
I like that.
You just like when stuff is said at night.
Yeah, I like at one point I thought that like this is just all his imagination of like all the vampire, and he like he's the vampire himself because we don't see him like action during the day, and and then we don't even see him sleep, but yeah, actually at one point we did see him sleep.
Yeah, he sleeps at Nazuna's apartment
Yeah,
probably multiple
that's right.
times in the early episodes.
So yeah, interesting show. If it's for the second season, I'm down to watch it for sure.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like judging whether a show is going to get a second season or not based on how it concludes. Like,
Yep.
it doesn't really work that way. There's the whole business side to it, but it does kind of seem like maybe that's where they're headed. If if the director, if the staff, if the production committee, if they're all like, yeah, we want to do this again, then I guess they've got a place to start from.
Yep.
But
I mean this is I would say this is a popular show of this season.
yeah,
So,
I think it probably is. Yeah, I mean it's a harem show, so those are generally pretty popular.
Yep.
But
All right.
man, when is it going to be fall? Oh, it's fall already. That's right. Pop Team Epic, Spy Family,
Yep.
Chainsaw Man, whatever
Yep.
else is coming out. We got Tatami
Yep.
Time Machine
Mobs.
Blues. We got Cyberpunk Edge Runners to go back and watch.
Yep. Mob Psycho 100.
Yes, Mob Psycho
3.
100.
Yep.
We got Blue Lock,
A lot.
Do It Yourself,
Yep.
whatever else is coming out.
Yep.
Ah.
The Raven Show.
What?
The Raven Show.
Oh yeah, the
That
Raven,
just
the
come out
Raven Show.
today.
Yeah,
Yep.
in the Inner Palace or whatever it's called.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't say I'm particularly excited for that one. I think the staff just looks like I don't even know any of the people who are working on it.
Yeah.
But hey, at
So
least it's, you know,
yeah,
at least it might be interesting. That's the thing, man. Before you watch the
yeah.
first episode, a show could be anything.
No, yes,
Anything at
I
all.
agree with
Then
that.
you watch it and you're like, "Oh, it's this."
Yeah, and even like if we watch the first episode and we really like it, we like the style, we like how it's going. It's not go. It might not go in the way that we want it to go.
Yeah, sometimes you watch one episode and you think it's good only to watch 12 more. Or, you know, maybe
Yeah,
skip episode 10 and then you're
yeah.
like, "Oh man, it ended up being
Enjoy
like this."
it. Yep, 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 yep,
Dude, I can't I just
yep. Tired.
I'm tired of watching
You know
anime.
that. All right. In 2 weeks we're gonna watch what would be a staple season of anime in a while. So like be more excited about the current state of anime, I suppose.
I think, you know what I think it is? And
Yeah.
this is because I've been watching a lot of like 90s series recently. I think I'm just getting, because I always am pretty vocal about what I don't like about stuff. And I'm pretty,
Yep.
just in general, I don't care that much if something is animated. Like the
Yep.
story has to appeal to me. The characters have to appeal to me. Everything's got to kind of, be in a row and then I'll get invested. But in general, not so
Mm.
much. But particularly, I think that I just am not really into digital anime right now. I've just fallen off of that pretty hard because when you watch something that was animated on cells, there's just something really comfy about that.
Yeah. Classy, right?
Yeah,
I
well,
I
it just makes
I
you
get the same
it
feeling.
just makes you feel like, I don't know, you're in another place.
Yep.
You're in another time. Whereas when you watch something like this, it feels very modern, and it's easy to
But
be like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that, and I do
yeah.
not like that.
But is it like 20 years from now you see that you see this CG and you see like like this is such a product of its time and it get you straight back to the 2020s 2010s and you actually kind of like that.
No, I don't. I mean, for some people, I'm sure that's going to be the case. The people who are like starting to watch anime right now, 20 years from
Hmm.
now, they'll be like, man, 2022 was the best year for anime ever. That's
Yeah.
just how nostalgia works. But no, for me, I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is going to be. Mostly, I'm just hoping. I mean, we can count on Mob Psycho, right?
Yeah, we can count on
At the
that.
very least, we
Look
can
at
count
that
on that.
show.
And Tatami
Yeah.
Time Machine Blues, I mean, some people are nervous about it because it's got a lot to live up to. But personally, I am assuming it's going to be godlike. Uh,
Yep.
so
Yeah. All
we've got a couple
right. No,
bright spots
assume.
coming up. Hopefully, a lot more than just two.
Yep, that's true. All right, so see you guys in 2 week time where we review one of the biggest season in anime for a while.
Yeah. See you in 2 weeks for the fall.
Yep. See ya, man.